Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR. I've got a lot to talk about as Ohio State is heading to the national championship game. The Buckeyes defeat the Texas Longhorns, the SEC. Texas Longhorns stick it to the Longhorns there as they were able to defeat them 28-14. I do apologize to everybody. I know I said it for like right before noon there in the chat, but or the on YouTube, but I got a little carried away talking with Mike over on the Ohio State channel of the Voice of College Football. So if you were still hanging out, if you're still here checking it out, greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate all of you who are willing to do that. But we got a lot to discuss because this game was nothing like the Oregon game, nothing like the Tennessee game. This was battle tested Ohio State. This was Ohio State having to test their will in a lot of ways, test their demons that they had left over from the Michigan game. This game felt like that game in a lot of ways for Ohio State. And I have a few things I want to go over. The first thing I'll do is I'll get into my takeaways. I'll get into kind of my takeaways from the game. What was kind of the biggest stuff that happened? Obviously, there's an interception that will be talked about when we get into that. I'm going to go through and grade each position group for Ohio State in this matchup. And then finally, I want to give my 3 decisions that Ryan Day made that changed the game in my mind. With so much discussion about Ryan Day, I said at one point earlier before the playoffs that it was probably time for Ryan Day to go. I'm eating those words right now because Ryan Day is looking like a mastermind in a lot of ways, even with Ohio State struggling in some ways in this one. So I know some of you guys' comments were from earlier, but I do want to address them as we come in. So John says, if OSU wins the Natty, check out Home Field Apparel. They'll probably be dropping championship gear for fans, and they make the best stuff. You are correct, John. And we have you guys helped out because there is a link in the description that can get you $10 off or 10% off, one of those two, your very first purchase of Home Field Apparel. So if you've never checked it out, and that revenue sharing helps me out as well. So look for the link in the description, either on the podcast feed or the YouTube feed or the Rumble feed if you're there as well. If you're on X, I apologize. I think I might have put it in the pinned tweet maybe. But anyway, just go check out YouTube if you want it. Philip says Big Ten 5, SEC 1. Yes, that's huge for the Big Ten in the postseason. In fact, this is the first time. I need to go back and check and see if this has ever happened in the Big Ten before. This is the first time in Ohio State program history that Ohio State has defeated a current SEC team, twice in the same season. They have had 5 wins over the SEC before, including that Tennessee game. I think 2014 Alabama, 1993 Vanderbilt, 1935 Kentucky. I believe they beat LSU 88 maybe, but those are the 5 beforehand. Now they have 6 wins over the SEC, the Big Ten with 5 wins over the SEC this season. That is huge. So John also says a buddy of mine is a Texas fan, and he was very confused as to why they were throwing on the 1-yard line. They even tried running the ball. Then they tried running the ball. Yeah, we're going to talk about the goal line stand as well. That's in my takeaways to note as well. Brian Myers says Zeke's 85 yards through the heart of Dixie's Dixie or Heart of the South, one of those two, and then Captain Jack, 85 yards through the heart of Texas. Technically, I think it was 82, but who's counting? You know, it's 87 yards through the heart of Texas. Yeah, that would have been a real good line. I honestly, truthfully, Chris Fowler could have said the line. I wasn't listening. I was freaking out so much at the huge play by Jack Sawyer for Ohio State. He came up with a huge play against Michigan, and it was never able to be recognized for how big of a play it was because of how terrible the offense was for Ohio State and really how good the Michigan defense was. I don't want to take anything away from them, how good the Michigan defense was as well. But in this one, Jack Sawyer just said, I ain't falling down. I'm getting myself to the end zone, and he was able to do that. What a legacy moment for Jack Sawyer. What a moment for a kid that grew up in Columbus, grew up a Buckeye. It's huge. It's huge for them. So huge for him, huge for everything. So, and overall, like, I know this is going to be obviously a very Ohio State centric episode as we're recapping the game, but like, just what a moment for the Big Ten, right? No SEC teams in the national championship. If you want to be consistent, you got to say if Penn State had a cakewalk to the semifinals, Texas had a cakewalk to the semifinals as well. Barely beating Arizona State. I know they got Cam Scatterboo, but guess what? Boise State had Ashton Genty, and Penn State was able to blow them out. Well, blow them out, win by a couple scores, 2 or 3 scores in that one. And then Texas struggles against Arizona State, goes into overtime with them, and they gave Ohio State a very good fight into the fourth quarter. Looked like they possibly could have won that game, and then the goal line stand. Let's start there. If you guys have any thoughts on any of my takeaways, please do put them in the chat. I want to know what you guys are thinking. When I do these solo shows on my own, it's a little bit harder to kind of generate all the thoughts and everything. So, you guys feel free to put stuff in the chat, and I'll try my best to get to it as well. Montana says Jerry Jones was drooling looking at Jack Sawyer. Yeah, he was. I bet he was. I bet he was thinking to himself, that guy's going to be in the draft this next year, right? Probably a number of players that he was thinking that about. The only player that won't be in the draft that he was probably drooling over was Caleb Downs. But he didn't even have his best game. He got that stiff arm by Gunnar Helm that kind of impacted him there. So yeah. Montana says, I said in April, great take by you. And it'll be back-to-back Big Ten teams in the Natty with no SEC teams. I mean, at this point, can we, like, kind of call Notre Dame, like, an honorary Big Ten team? Like, if they're going to join a conference, they're joining the Big Ten, right? Like, and they're a Northern team. They're not an Atlantic Coast team. They're a Northern team. Like, I don't know. I know I said earlier in the season that, I wasn't a super huge fan of Notre Dame, but I got to be honest, guys. I do like this Notre Dame team. We did the talk about Marcus Freeman and everything, me and Zach, and I turned that into a video. Not a lot of you guys watched it. That's okay. I get it. You guys are more Big Ten centric, but like, I don't know, like this Notre Dame team, what a story, what a coach, and Marcus Freeman with what he's been doing. So I just I'm really, really impressed with Marcus Freeman and what he's been able to do. And part of me is wondering, did I ever dislike Notre Dame for Notre Dame, or did I just dislike Brian Kelly? Because I saw that tweet earlier today, and I thought, that is metaphorical right there. That's the stuff right there. Maybe I never actually hated Notre Dame. Maybe I just didn't like Brian Kelly. John says, Notre Dame's been playing well, but I don't see them hanging with Ohio State. Riley Leonard is going to get mauled. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, part of me feels like, and so I'll just get into my takeaways right here. Part of me feels like this offensive performance for Ohio State was good for them. My partner Mike on the Ohio State Voice of College Football postgame show made the point, and I'll reiterate it here, but I want to give him credit. Like, Ohio State saw Tennessee's tempo. That got them ready for Oregon's tempo in that game. So then now you're getting yourself ready for a hard-nosed defense that's going to take away the big plays in Notre Dame by playing Texas, right? Who did just that in this game. And yes, Derby, I totally agree with you. Notre Dame's defense is elite. It's very, very good. Some people look at that score and say, well, they gave up 24 points to Penn State. But every single one of those 24 points was earned. And Notre Dame's defense, even though their defensive line is not super big, like, they're athletic and they're able to get around those blockers. So for Ohio State, I mean, obviously the defensive line is not the same, but the way they played defense, they had those safeties like 20 yards back, and there were a lot of Ohio State fans that were critical of Chip Kelly in the second quarter when the offense started to go south, saying like, and even Zach was saying it, oh, they're not doing that great of a job, and Chip Kelly is kind of reverting to what he did against Michigan and stuff like that. I didn't really see that. I felt like Ohio State's offense was just so undisciplined. The penalty by Trevion Henderson punching the defensive lineman. You had the false start. You had the holding. Like, there were penalties there that the offense was having that just kept moving them back. And I pointed it out to people on Twitter. like at one point during the second half, Ohio State had a third and average of 12 yards on third down. Third and 12 was their average, what they had to do on third down. Like, that's terrible. That is awful. If you find yourself in a situation where you were third and 9 plus, well, that's what Ohio State was averaging on third down there toward the end of the second quarter and through most of the third quarter as well. I think they finished that way as well. I'll have to check to make sure. I've got my advanced analytics here. Ohio State was average third and 10 for the entire game. Like, I get it. I get a lot of people are upset with the play calling of Chip Kelly. I get, they're running into the middle of the defense a little too much, but like as a play caller, that's really really hard to get through those situations when you are on third and long that many times. Ohio State had 3 third down conversions out of 10 attempts. They only had 1 third down conversion between third and short, which is 1 and 4 yards. The rest were between 5 and 7 yards. 2 other ones. They didn't have a single third down conversion on 9+ yards, and they had 4 of those in this game. So that was huge for them, and it really affected their play calling as well. So that's my first takeaway was penalties, drops as well. Ohio State had 4 drops in this game. I counted. The stat sheet I have said that they had only 2, but I'm gonna count the drop that Jeremiah Smith had earlier in the game. Yes, he was fully extended up, but it still hit him in the hands. So as far as I'm concerned, if a ball hits you in the hands, it's a drop. Same thing happened similarly to Emeka Egbuka down the field. I believe that was in the third quarter. No, it was on that scoring drive. So in the fourth quarter, I believe it was. Sorry, guys, I'm doing a lot of talking. Just got through a whole other show. Thankfully, that one was with another person. But they Emeka Egbuka drops that one. It was kind of knocked loose by the safety, but I felt like it wasn't knocked loose until the ball got through his hands. So again, as far as I'm concerned, like the ball hits you in the hands, it's a drop. So I counted 4 drops for Ohio State. 1 by Jeremiah Smith, 1 by Carnell Tate, which would have been a touchdown. Really wasn't a big deal because Quinshon Judkins ran it into the very next play. But then 2 by Emeka Egbuka in that game. One of them would have been a first down when they really needed it. So that was huge. And then there was a play in the second quarter that it was a read play. And it was a very obvious give. But Will Howard pulled the read, and he just got swallowed up by like 3 Texas defenders right away. And Quinshon Judkins, if he would have taken it, he would have been one-on-one with the safety and would have been able to get to the end zone if he was able to juke the safety. So I felt like that was a big takeaway for me, was how undisciplined Ohio State's offense was, not just in the first half. It continued into the second half as well. The penalty on Austin Seyerveld, that's the offensive lineman. That was the unsportsmanlike penalty where there was kind of a pile of Texas defenders. I think it was on first down. Will Howard threw the ball for like 15 yards, and there was a pile of Texas defenders with the wide receiver, and they keep trying to push him back. Apparently the whistle blows. I didn't hear it before it happened, but apparently the whistle blows, and then Austin Seyerveld goes in and basically just hits a pile of Texas guys and takes them out. So, I don't know. I guess if the whistle blew, it should be a flag, but felt like to me Texas was still playing in that situation. So if you got guys still playing, I don't know. To me, that's a big deal. Another takeaway that I had was Will Howard started trying to force the ball to Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith in this game, if I'm not mistaken, he did not have a single catch. Yes, he did not have. Or he had 1 catch for 3 yards. I apologize. I thought that was a run. He had 1 catch for 3 yards. He was targeted only 3 times in this game, and one of those targets was, like I said, the deep ball that he missed, and then the other one was the one that was an interception. And I felt like in that moment, that was when Will Howard was like, I got to get this guy involved. This guy has been huge for us all season. And then he throws an interception on the first drive of the second half. And I felt like that was impactful, that Ohio State, after that interception, did not go to him again. It wasn't at fault of Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith, he was in a situation where they were not going to let Will Howard throw the ball to him. And Jeremiah Smith has said before, like, you just throw the ball up to me and I'll get it. Well, they threw the ball up to him on that one play and it went through his hands. So, excuse me. They threw the ball up to him on that one play and it went through his hands. So, at a certain point, you got to get other guys involved, which they did. Carnell Tate was a leading receiver for 87 yards, 7 catches, 87 yards. Terry says, congrats, JR, and OSU fans from an Indiana fan. Appreciate that, Terry. It'd have been cool to face off with Indiana in a national championship, but that's not the situation we find ourselves in. But how cool for Indiana, right? Their only 2 losses this season are the 2 teams in the national championship game. I don't know if that's cool, but that is absolutely crazy. Indiana, the team that Kirk Herbstreit said didn't belong in the playoffs, that other people said didn't belong in the playoffs, which I know some people who listen to this say they shouldn't, and that's fine. I understand what you're saying. But their only 2 losses on the season were to the 2 teams in the national championship. That's pretty crazy. Hummus Hero says, hey, JR, OHIO. Hummus Hero, appreciate you being here. I didn't know how many Buckeye fans we'd have in here with me coming on so late, but I appreciate all of you being here. So my next takeaway, Ohio State's 3 and outs killed them. Absolutely killed them. At the start of the second quarter, from the beginning of the second quarter, they did not have a single drive of 5 plays or more until the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter started with, the Texas punted right at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and then Ohio State gets the ball on the 12, I think it was, and from there they had a 13-play, 88-yard drive. Up until that point, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They had 7 drives of 5 plays or less. Now, one of those plays was the screen pass to Travion Henderson that ran for a touchdown, so technically it was less than 5 plays. It was only 1 play, but still, they were not able to move the ball in the second quarter. And it felt like that was when Texas's defensive line and their Sonny says release the celebration video. If I get it loaded up, I got to get it loaded up. My phone is a little doesn't have the best service up here, but I'll do an ad here in a second after I get done with my takeaways, and I'll try to get it downloaded and loaded up. But I do have a celebration after Jack Sawyer got the touchdown there. So all right, I just downloaded it from my wife, so I'll get that loaded up when I'm done with my takeaways. But yeah, so they weren't able to get any drives going, and then they have that 13-play, 88-yard drive to get the touchdown. The Will Howard run, was that on 4th down or 3rd down? That was huge. He's been falling down all season. He looked super athletic at Kansas State, being able to run for these big, long gains and everything. Maybe it was just Big 12 defenses. I don't know if they're just that much slower or what, but Will Howard, he fell down on that one. I made a joke on the Ohio State show that he's been in such a good weight room with Ohio State that they got him top heavy now. He's got too much shoulder muscle, too much chest muscle, too big of arms, and now he's too top heavy, so he's fallen over. But no, that's a joke. I don't know if that's true at all, but yeah, Ohio State in this game, they had 3 and outs. Texas only have 1 3 and out, and just absolutely crazy how much the defense of Ohio State was able to still play well even through that. And then the defense of Ohio State not being able to cover the running backs on that drive. They never adjusted. And even on that play that they scored, Sonny Styles, who looked like he should have had the running back. I don't know if maybe they were doing something else different or maybe there was a miscommunication. He blitzes. And so the running back runs out of the backfield wide open, makes his way to the end zone. They found a weakness in Ohio State's defense there. Now, Ohio State corrected it the very next drive, so a lot of credit goes to Ohio State to be able to correct that. Texas wasn't able to take that easy stuff the entire game, but man, that was critical for Texas to be able to score on that drive, being able to get the ball to the running backs, and they would have gotten them to the running backs even more if it wasn't for Ohio State knocking the ball down. Ohio State had 4 balls knocked down at the line of scrimmage by defensive linemen, so that's absolutely huge. And then Ohio State, their best part of the game, man, guys, that goal line defense. That goal line defense won Ohio State the game. against Penn State earlier in the season. Sorry, Penn State fans. I know it's hard to bring up, and I'm not trying to I'm not trying to pile on because I know you guys are going through it. Great season for Penn State, though, by the way. But that Penn State, that goal line defense against Penn State showed up, and then that was all I could think about when Texas got to the goal line. That's all I could think about was, all right, this goal line defense has been amazing all season long. It won a game for them earlier in the year. Can they replicate that? Can they do it again? Texas tries to run it up the middle. Nothing. They try a pitch play. One of my buddies, actually it was Sonny, I think, asked me, like, why are they running a pitch play? Why are they running it to the outside? There's some kind of crazy stat out there. I can't find it for sure, but there's some kind of crazy stat out there that, like, teams are only having success running the ball on the goal line 20% of the time, which if you know anything about run success rate means that they determine how many yards are needed to stay on schedule. So obviously on first down, on schedule is typically somewhere between 3 to 4 yards, just so that way kind of keep the drive going. If it's 3rd and 3, you need 3 yards. If it's 3rd and 1, it's 1 yard. And so if you get those yards, you have a success. So for within, I think it's 3 yards, teams are only having a successful run, which is a touchdown, against Ohio State 20% of the time. So Sark is really into numbers. He's one of those guys that really believes in that stuff. So what I think probably happened is I think Steve Sarkisian probably knew that number, and then he says, I'm not going to let them do it to us like they have other teams. I'm going to take the ball outside, maybe get them on the pitch play. It didn't work. Ohio State was able to make it happen, and just absolutely huge from them that they were able to do that. So, and then Jack Sawyer, obviously the defensive line for Ohio State played great all game. When they were getting pressure on Quinn Ewers, there was a lot of blitzing by Jim Knowles there for a while. I didn't think they needed it. I felt like they were getting pressure, even when JT Tuimoloau was out, they were still getting pressure on Quinn Ewers. So to me, like, you didn't really need it, but just a fantastic game. And I felt like that was redemption for Jack. Obviously, Jack gets the interception against Michigan about a month or two ago, and the offense wasn't able to capitalize because of their struggles that day, and also just good defense by Michigan. But he doesn't even let it be the case this time. He just takes the ball, goes for the touchdown, runs 80-some yards through the eye of Texas, the heart of Texas, whatever you guys want to call it, and gets to the end zone. What a fantastic play. What a legacy play for Jack Sawyer and everything. I mean, just absolutely fantastic. Like I said, I got a video for you guys on that one. I'll have to upload it here in a second when I go to commercial, and do that. I can do it from my phone, so I'll do that. But yeah, so just great stuff there. Great stuff, guys. All right, I'm gonna hit a break really fast so that way I can do this, and we will be right back. Have you ever wanted to watch all 22 film, that film the coaches watch? Well, now you can. Introducing the Coaches Film Room. Over at Minutes to Sports, former college coach Zach Smith breaks down film of the most relevant teams in college football with a bit of a Big Ten lead. It's not free, so you'll need to sign up for the Colonel tier, which is $25 a month, but I can attest to you that it is far more worth it than that. With about 4 to 8 games per week, this is worth so much more money, not to mention Zach's analysis, making you a smarter football fan. Go check it out. The links are in the description, minutestosports.com. You won't. Home Field is your go-to destination for premium collegiate apparel with a passion for comfort and a flair for vintage design. Home Field brings you gear that is comfortable and stylish. With over 150 colleges to choose from, Home Field digs deep into the archives, uncovering forgotten logos, iconic mascots, and legendary moments to create one-of-a-kind apparel. Use my code TBTH for 15% off for new customers, or use my link in the description. The Big Ten Huddle is brought to you by the College Huddle, the largest fan-led college sports podcast community on the internet. With contributors from 70 different schools, you will get in all kinds of analysis from all over the country. Go visit thecollegehuddle.com to find your team and read articles from all across so many fans and contributors. The College Huddle is fan-made, fan-driven, and fan-fueled. All right. It's loading. Sorry, guys. That was my phone I had to have in there. It's loading right now, so once I get that loaded, we'll be good to go for you guys. But yeah, what a game. What are you guys talking about? What's your thoughts? Montana says Sark watched a ton of film, knew the defense was like that. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. And that's the thing. Like every now and then you can know that, but sometimes not trusting your team um, can get you in trouble like that. So yeah, what a crazy situation to go for the run play there. It says it's too big of a file size. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it to you guys. I'll have to post it. I'll have to post it later on. Sorry guys, I'm not gonna be able to post that in here.